3 years of my existence wasted, and a monetary disaster to sort out, and truthfully, I have to unload this before I burst. I encountered Kenny on what was supposed to be a dull afternoon. I was riding the Amtrak to see my sibling in Chicago when our locomotive struck an object on the rails. Not a complete crash, but sufficient to harm the bottom section and leave us all marooned in the midst of remote Pennsylvania. They needed to shuttle everyone to this minuscule village to hold on while they sorted the arrangements. 8 hours. That's the duration we were trapped in this arbitrary hamlet with precisely one eatery, one tavern, and a quick-stop shop. The majority of travelers crammed into the eatery, but it overflowed quickly. I wound up at the tavern adjacent with my travel sack, requesting whatever pitiful sandwich they offered and browsing my device to inform my sibling I'd arrived delayed. Kenny was perched 2 seats away, also with baggage. He cracked a quip about how fate must truly desire us to value rural U.S. life. I chuckled. He was attractive, towering with this unruly dark blonde locks and appealing palms. I've forever had a weakness for appealing palms. No idea why. We began conversing, discovered we were both directed to the identical broad region. He was auditioning for some role, claimed he was fed up with the business routine and aimed to create something significant. I shared that I labored in supply chain, not exciting but reliable. Following several hours of discussion and a few ales, we swapped contacts. I didn't anticipate much resulting from it, to be honest. But he messaged the following day, and we linked up for Java once I returned from my siblings. That audition he was attending? He didn't secure the role, but he had another prepared, he mentioned, and another subsequent to that. Always something massive impending, always nearly securing the ideal chance. I wasn't bothered initially. The employment scene is awful, and he was engaging. 6 months later, his rental was concluding. My residence was larger, nearer to the city center. And frankly, I was already covering most of our outing expenses anyway since his resources were momentarily strained until he obtained his upcoming position. When he proposed cohabiting, it appeared reasonable. This is when matters began altering. The initial month, he settled his portion of lease promptly. By the second month, he was a week behind. By the third month, he had this entire tale about how a payment from a side project was postponed, but he'd absolutely handle next month's lease plus what he was due. I didn't insist. I could manage the lease solo. It was constricting but feasible. And Kenny was at the residence all day connecting and developing his collection, so at least the dwelling was tidy and supper was generally prepared when I arrived home. I convinced myself it was short-term. The justifications became more intricate. The venture he was advising for had bookkeeping problems. A customer was delayed settling an bill. The assignment schedule was prolonged, always something outside his grasp, always with a resolution nearby. Meanwhile, my savings were diminishing. I began accepting additional duties, took on some weekend stock tasks. Kenny would provide me these shoulder massages when I returned drained, inform me how incredible I was, how he'd compensate me when his profession soared. My pal Jay was the initial to remark. We were seizing Java and I noted passing on an approaching show because funds were scarce. She shot me this. I can't tell you the full story in short. To watch the full story, click the related link below.